Hey everybody, welcome back again to True Mission Story Central here at Christian Assembly. I'm Josh. I'm excited to share with you again another true mission story, something that actually happened in a country to a missionary, and I really feel like tonight's is a perfectly timed story because we're coming to the end of August. We're coming to back to school time, guys, and I heard all of the moms and dads cheering and being excited, and I did hear a lot of groaning from the kids. I hope that all of you kids are excited to go back to school. I know that it's, a big deal, but it's so good for you. And today we're going to see how God can use school to impact the lives of a kid. Now, last Wednesday we were in the giant country of Russia, and today we are in a much smaller country, the country of Honduras. And I got to tell you guys, I learned something this morning as I was getting ready for this lesson, and that is I learned that Honduras is the second poorest country in the entire Western Hemisphere. I mean, I know we're poor sometimes. We don't have enough money to buy this or buy that, but I'm talking about so poor that these people are unable to buy anything. And a lot of times they live in some conditions that we wouldn't even want our dogs or cats to live in. And so we're going to jump right into it, okay? Are you ready? Well, Ernesto awoke in his tiny shack and rubbed his eyes. In the dim light of dawn, he could see his 7 brothers and sisters all sleeping on the floor. Yeah, that's right, they all slept on the floor. Quietly, he tiptoed around them toward a curtain that served as a door. Stepping outside, he shaded his eyes against the rising sun. Many other shacks, just like his, made from scrap wood and rusty pieces of the sheet metal, lined a muddy river. I just want you guys to, I'm going to read that again. I want you to really listen to how they lived. There were 7 brothers and sisters, along with Ernesto, sleeping on the floor in shacks made from scrap wood and rusty pieces of sheet metal. And they were lining a muddy river. See, in Honduras, these places are called los bordos, which means borders or the edges of the river. Honduras is the second largest country in Central America. That is a very large country comparatively. And this, like I was telling you earlier, the second poorest country in all of the Western Hemisphere. There are many villages like Ernesto's in Honduras, all called los bordos. Well, seeing his mother washing clothes in the river, Ernesto approached her, stepping carefully through piles of garbage, trying not to cut his feet. He didn't own a pair of shoes. No one in Los Bordos owned any shoes. He knelt down next to his mother and cupped his hands to take a drink of the dirty water. That was his morning water from the muddy, dirty river. Farther up the river, another mother bathed a sick baby. Nearby, 2 girls tried to comb through each other's hair with their fingers. Next to them, their younger sister tied knots in a scrap of fabric to make a doll. No one in Los Bordos owned any hairbrushes or toys. Even worse than the lack of shoes, brushes, and toys was the lack of education. Ernesto knew that if he could just go to school, he could have hope for a better life when he grew up. But there was no chance for that. No one in Los Bordos could go to school because they didn't have any money. See, in Honduras, each child is expected to bring their own pencils, notebooks, rulers, scissors, and other supplies before they can even go to school. They also have to have a pair of shoes. And Ernesto's family had no money for supplies like those. But then one day something changed. A man named Ken came to Ernesto's village. Ken said he was a missionary, and he had started something called the Children's Gift Ministry to share the love of Jesus with the people of the village. Everyone gathered around him to listen to his good news. Ernesto was especially curious to hear about a God who loved him so much that he sent his own son. Then Ken said there was a special event at the Assemblies of God Church in the city, and that Ernesto and the children could go. Some leaders passed out bracelets, and Ernesto put his on. He couldn't read the words on the bracelets, so Ken told him it said, Con Jesus inició mi clases. I'm not very good with speaking other languages, so I apologize if I botched that. But what it meant was starting my classes with Jesus. And Ken said, this bracelet is your ticket to go in. Ernesto and the other kids of his village got onto bright yellow buses. As the bus drove down the bumpy dirt road, the leaders taught them some fun songs to sing. They sang all the way, laughing each time the bus hit a big bump and tossed the kids into the air. And at the church, the kids played games and watched puppets and clowns. They heard more about Jesus and how he loves the children so much. Then the kids were fed lunch. It felt so good to have a full belly. And after lunch was an even bigger surprise. The leaders brought out boxes and boxes filled with brightly colored backpacks. When one leader handed a backpack to Ernesto, Ernesto looked inside and gasped. It was full of school supplies and more, including a hairbrush, a toothbrush, even a toy, and best of all, a pair of shoes. Amazed, Ernesto asked, I get to go to school? Yes, Ernesto, you get to go to school, the leader said. Ernesto smiled and hugged his backpack tightly. I get to go to school, he said. When school began that year, Ernesto put on his new shoes, threw his backpack full of supplies over his shoulder, and got on a bus. As the bus rolled and bumped down the road, Ernesto knew for certain that God really does love him. Adults and kids in the U.S. had cared enough to pay for him to go to school, and that showed Ernesto how much God really loves him. I get to go to school, he thought, with a huge smile on his face. Because of our missionaries and BGMC, Boys and Girls Missionary Challenge, Ernesto's life was completely changed. It went from being hopeless to having hope. All because you, me, all of the kids and adults who give to BGMC cared enough to show the love of Jesus to someone they've never met by meeting that person's needs. I have an old friend, very dear to me, and she would always say, let's be Jesus with skin on. Meaning, let's show who he is by our actions, by our words, by how we treat people, by how we care about them. And I want to encourage you today to do the same. Guys, let's be Jesus with skin on by providing for the needs of those around us, not because we're just great people, but because God loves those who we are helping so much, and he wants to show them, and he wants to use us to do it. I encourage you guys, find a way to help someone this week and share that love of Jesus with them, the love that God has for them, so that their lives can be changed forever too. Well, that's all we've got today. I'm really excited again to see you Sunday morning right back here at Christian Assembly for High Point Kids. Boy, I lost my train of thought for a second. It went and I look forward to seeing you back here next Wednesday night for another true mission story from another country where we'll hear about the love of Jesus and how it's expressed to people all around this world through BGMC and people like you. All right, guys, pray that you have a good time until I see you back here Sunday. Bye.